What's up YouTube, this is Boston X79 guys, Tim coming to my latest deck profile video for July 2020, and today guys, we're going to be covering my updated Trickstar deck. All I can turn around and say is that I am loving this particular version of Trickstar deck, primarily because I'm a big fan of its burn variant than any other variant of all, and just being able to utilize Trickstar Lycoris in combination with other effect damage effects to burn through your opponent's life points, forcing them to draw cards. It's kind of very satisfying when you can actually pull it off and get wins like that. And to be honest, the deck burn strategy actually is like a secondary win condition in this deck because you can actually grind out wins doing that. So this deck's got some pretty awesome abilities, and with some of the new cards that we've gotten, I can tell you right now, I'm liking this particular version of the build. So without further ado, we're going to jump right into this. As always, monsters first. First and foremost, 3 copies of Trickstar Candidate. You have to run 3 copies. It's a must, primarily because on normal summon, she is searching out any Trickstar card you need to add to your hand. A lot of the time, she's searching out your Trickstar Light Stage, primarily to get an additional search. So that's the primary reason why we have to run her at 3. Anything less than 3 is unacceptable. While she's also on the field, she does an effect damage effect where if your opponent activates a spell or trap, they're getting hit with 200 points of effect damage. So it's kind of a theme with all the Trickstar monsters, but still, getting those effects off can really do some serious damage to your opponent's life points. Next up, which is another 3 of in this deck that's a must, is Trickstar Lycoris. Lycoris has a quick effect that can allow you to special summon her out by bouncing another Trickstar monster off the field back to your hand, or actually that depending on what you have. Because of that, typically her effects is chained in concert with Candina's search effect to allow you to chain block your opponent from being able to respond to with things like Ash Blossom or Effect Veiler. And like I said in the intro, she is the key to this overall strategy. While she's in the field, anytime your opponent is drawing cards or adding cards from the deck to their hand, they're getting hit with 200 points of damage. Multiple copies of this card in the field means they're losing massive amounts of chunks of LP every single time they draw and search. And considering the trap lineup that's in this deck, they're going to be doing that a lot. So don't expect a happy opponent after you manage to pull off a victory by burning through their LP very quickly. Next up is Trickstar Lilybell. Lilybell is very important. When she's searched out of your deck, you special summon her. She can attack your opponent's life points directly, and when she does, she's allowed to get you a Trickstar monster back from your graveyard into your hand, so you can recycle your Candinas or your used up Lycorises very quickly. And based on Lycoris' effect, you can actually bounce Lilybell back to the field to get her back on the field herself. So yeah, it's not a bad card to have in this deck. Last but not least, for the Trickstar monsters, we have 2 copies of Trickstar Carabine. Carabine can special summon herself out onto the field. You don't control any other Trickstar cards on the field. She's got a 2,000 attack point body, so that's not bad. But she also has that hand trap effect, which is just insane. Basically, she takes the original attack of your Trickstar monsters and doubles it. So Candina can go up to 3,600, Lycoris can go up to 3,200, and even you could boost herself up to 4,000, so you can get some pretty beefy boss monsters. And one of the cool thing about this deck is that all the hand traps in this deck are basically kind of like burn damage cards, primarily because by boosting up your monsters' attack points, you're basically able to take off chunks of your opponent's life points. So, in that reasoning, yeah, they are burn cards. Other hand traps to have in this deck, you have 2 copies of Honest. Honest just is a natural blend into the Trickstar deck since they're all lighter tribute monsters. Anytime a lighter tribute monster battles, you can just send this card to the graveyard to increase the attack points of the lighter tribute monster by the monster it's battling. So yes, you can get through this card very easily and be able to take chunks out of your opponent's life points, making your burn strategy all that more easier. And the last burn card that I actually have in this deck is 2 copies of Ghost Mourner and Moonlight Chill. Your opponent's special summon monster, you can actually send this card from your hand to the graveyard, targeting that monster. Its effects are negated, which is actually pretty awesome. That can shut down a lot of different plays. I mean, think about Hacker or even Mega Venom Beast Orodon. You get the idea. But the other cool thing about it is that that monster that you negated leaves the field. Your opponent is getting hit with effect damage equal to that monster's original attack. So yes, it's also a burn damage card, and it really makes them think twice about what they're doing. And last but not least, the little spicy tech I have added in this deck is 2 copies of Lilith, the Lady of Lament. Lilith is just awesome, allowing you to tribute herself off. As a quick effect, reveal 3 normal traps from your deck. Your opponent picks one to set to your field, the other 2 get shuffled back in your deck. Just being able to access your trap cards, whether it be during your turn or your opponent's turn, just an amazing thing, and it's so worth it. That's it for the monsters. On to the spells. 2 copies of Chain Summoning. Chain Summoning is just amazing in this deck. Summon out. You Candina, you chain Lycoris to Candina's effect. That's Chain Link. Candina will be Chain Link 1. Yeah, Lycoris will be Chain Link 2. You can activate this card. That'll be Chain Link 3. And from there, you get an additional 2 more normal summons per turn. And that's actually used because then you can actually utilize Candina to continually search out other Trickstar cards from your deck to your hand and be able to set up a major, massive board. That can just be so problematic. And that's why we run this card. If you want to try boosting up to 2 to see it more often, I mean, from 2 to 3, be my guest. I know I'm liking 2 in this deck the most. We're also running 2 copies of Dark Rumor Nightmare. Dark Rumor Nightmare, basically anytime your opponent takes effect damage, you can then activate this card's effect and they get hit with 300 points of damage each time they get hit with effect damage. So just imagine 2 Lycoris and Life Stage on the field. They just draw for opening turn. They get hit with Lycoris 1 and then Life Stage and then Lycoris 2 and then Life Stage has 4 activations, which means you can activate this card up to 4 times and hit them with 300 points of effect damage for each activation, which means a total of 1,200 extra additional effect damage points. So that's why it's in here, to help get that extra oomph in the burn game. 2 copies of Demise of Land. This deck likes to see its field spells like Light Stage or the next card, which is going to be Mystic Mine. Just dropping this card when your opponent special summons can really hurt your opponent so badly. Can't activate activated effects or attack as long as they have more monsters to you. Best case scenario, if you're going up against a deck that utilizes the Synchro Engine, wait for Orodon to hit the field, summon out the 3 tokens, as well as get the other 2 Despots on the board, flip over Demise of Land, get mine on the field, boom, right then and there, they're trapped. Even if they tribute off Orodon and another monster, they cannot get the Mega Venom Beast Orodon out of the deck, so they are pretty much screwed at that point. The only thing they could probably do is probably go into maybe a level 8 Synchro. Or a level 7 Synchro, excuse me. And if they're not carrying level 7 Synchros, they're pretty much dead in the water. So, yeah. That's very awesome. Of course, we want to see as many cards as possible. 3 copies of Powder Extravagance is what I'm running in this deck for this version. I really don't extend into the extra deck all that much. But if you watch my other videos, you know I don't like having useless cards in the extra deck. So, the extra deck is there if you want to extend into it. But if you don't worry about it. It's great fodder for extra draws. And that's why we run 3 copies of Powder Extravagance. Terraforming to see the mine, or Trickstar Light Stage. Light Stage, when it's activated, you search the deck for a Trickstar monster to add to your hand. It also has a very handy effect to target a face-down card on your opponent's field. They can't activate it while this card's face-up in the field, so that's actually pretty handy to start your opponent, especially if you can call the right face-down against an Eldritch, like maybe doing the Scarlight. So, yeah. That's it for the spells. On to the traps. Oh, and this is where the traps plus Lycoris really hurt your opponent. 3 copies of Disturber Strategy. What does this card do? It forces your opponent to take their entire hand, shuffle it back into their deck, and then draw the same number of cards. I know it kind of seems weird, but when you have a couple of Lycoris on the field, they're going to get hit with some pretty hefty burn damage. Primarily, especially if you can get them on turn 1 with 6 cards in hand. And you have multiple Lycris. Yeah. They'll get 1,200 points from each Lycris, which is 2,400 life points just gone in one turn. And if you chain this with other cards, Trap Crusher you have in this, you're going to be doing a whole lot of damage. So definitely worth having in this deck. Another card, which is great in situations where your opponent uses up a lot of resources in their hand, is Present Card. Primary reason why they discard their entire hand, and then they draw 5 brand new cards. Multiple Lycris in the field means they're getting hit with a couple thousand life points of effect damage. And that doesn't even count in things like late stage if it's still up and active. Okay, in case we don't have mine on the field, we do have 3 copies of Threatening Roar. Prevents your opponent from going into their battle phase. Very smart card to have, and it's searchable off of Lilith, so great thing. And last but not least, the one card everybody hates in Trickstars, 3 copies of Trickstar Reincarnation. Basically, they banish their entire hand, and they have to draw a brand new hand of the same number of cards. So using this in concert with something like Disturbing Strategy on their first turn can basically burn through a lot of their resources, especially if you have multiple copies of this card on the field. Alright, that's it for the extra deck. For the main deck, for the extra deck, we do have 1 copy of Trickstar Holly Angel. Anytime a monster is special summoned to the card, a zone this card is points to, your opponent gets hits with an additional 200 points of effect damage. Not bad. Anytime effect damage is inflicted from other Trickstar cards, this card gains attack equal to the amount of damage you inflicted. So yeah, that's actually pretty damn awesome of this card. You can get it pretty powerful, especially if you get a few of those traps off with a couple of Lycris on the field. So definitely worth having in this deck. Trickstar Crimson Heart is another card I like to play in there. Anytime you summon a Trickstar monster to a zone this card points to, you're gaining 200 life points. So instead of your opponent gaining, you're actually losing. You're actually gaining to try to distance that thing. So this is pretty cool. The real awesome thing is you can take a Trickstar card from your hand, discard it to the graveyard, and then both players draw a card, which can set off Lycris right there. And if you happen to have 2,000 or more life points than your opponent does, you're actually drawing 2 cards, so you can see more cards. Utilizing this in concert with something like Reincarnation, definitely worth the while. That's why we run her in the extra deck. Because of Extravagance, I am running 2 copies of IP Masquerena. She's just an amazing card that can allow you to build into larger Link monsters. And those Link monsters then become undestructible to your opponent's card effects. So definitely a worthwhile card. Very generic, and you can just utilize her. The other card that I'm running 2 of is 2 copies of Barricade Board Blocker. Barricade Board Blocker is damn important in this deck because it allows you to get back your Trickstar life stage or Mystic Mine your opponent managed to get over. Just being able to recycle your field spells is insanely important to this deck. That's why it's in here at 2. Of course, we're running the Nightmare package, Unicorn to spin anything back to the deck, Phoenix for back row hate. And I do have a couple of Link Fours if you want to go up that far. Borosword and Borolo, they just do a lot of work in this deck. Borolo can help break out boards and steal your opponent's monsters to swing at your opponent. Borosword, it's an OTK machine, so that's why it's in the deck as well. From some Xyz plays, I got 2 rank 3s. Number 47 Nightmare Shark and the Phantom Knights Breaksword. Breaksword allows you to clear off monsters, and you have Nightmare Shark just allowing you to hit your opponent directly for direct damage, almost like a burn effect in itself. So definitely worth having in your deck. Diagust Emerald to recycle your monsters back into your deck. Get additional draws. Number 41 Babushka for Storm. And then, of course, Abyss Dweller to knock out graveyard effects. Guys, that is it for my Trickstar deck profile for July 2020. I do hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, make sure to give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more content like this on my channel, make sure to subscribe, enable notifications so you don't miss any uploads. Check out the description box below find the links to my affiliates, tcgplayer.com, as well as sidedeckversus.com. Great resources for any Yu-Gi-Oh player. Follow me on social media, Twitter and Reddit. Guys, want to help keep growing my community? The invite link to my Discord server is also in the description box below. Join the conversation. We'll love to have you. And as always, guys, until next time, peace.